When people hear the word refugee, they often think about what was lost. But today, I want to talk about what was found, and that is courage. My name is David, and today I want to share what courage has meant in my personal journey as a refugee, and not the loud kind that we often think about, but the kind that is found in survival and in healing and in rebuilding a life when everything has changed. I come from the Democratic Republic of Congo, from the Banyamulenge community, and growing up, courage was not something that we really talked about. It was something that we lived. And like many refugees, my journey was shaped by conflict, displacement, and uncertainty. My family and I were forced to flee and leave our home, and before coming to the United States, I lived in Kenya as a refugee for more than 11 years. When people hear the word refugee, they often think only about the moment someone flees their own country. But for many of us, being a refugee is not just a single moment, it is a journey. For me, Kenya became a place of transition. It was a place where I was physically safe, yes, but still uncertain about what the future would really hold. Like many refugees, I carried questions, fears, dreams, and I wondered what my future would really look like and whether I would ever truly belong somewhere again. And during that season, I learned one most important lesson of my life: that your circumstances may influence you, but your perspective determines how you respond to them. I could choose to focus only on what I had lost, or I could choose to believe that my story was still being written. And that shift in mindset changed everything. The challenges, they didn't disappear, and the uncertainty, yes, they remain, but I began to see myself differently. Instead of seeing the obstacles, I began to see the possibilities. And instead of asking myself, why did this happen? Why did I become a refugee? I start asking myself, what can I do with my life that I still have? And eventually, my journey brought me to the United States. Many people think that once a refugee reaches safety, then the difficult part is over. Yes, in some ways that is true, but in many ways, a new challenge begins. I remember I arrived in a new country with a new system, a new culture, a new way of life, and I had to learn how to navigate unfamiliar spaces and just rebuild my sense of belonging. I had to discover who I was beyond the labels that had been placed on me, and that is when I learned a deeper meaning of courage. Courage is not only about surviving difficult circumstances, but courage is also about what you do afterwards. It is about choosing to heal, choosing to grow, and choosing not to allow your past to determine your future. For a long time, I did not talk about my story. And like many people who have experienced hardship, I thought that silence was easier. I thought that if I could focus only on moving forward, then I could leave my past behind. But over time, I realized that silence may protect us, yes, but it can also prevent healing. And I began to understand that sharing our stories is not a sign of weakness, but it is an act of courage. When we tell our stories, we give meaning to our lives and our experiences, and we help other people, others who feel less alone, and we create understanding where there was once a misunderstanding. And that realization has really changed my life. It inspired me to launch a project called 5,000 Future, an initiative dedicated to empowering refugees and underserved communities through mentorship, education, and opportunities for growth. And because of that mindset shift, I stopped asking why did this happen to me, and started asking how can my story help someone else. I believe courage is not only about overcoming hardship by ourselves, but it is also about helping others believe their future. It's about creating opportunities where people see obstacles. It's about turning pain into purpose. And today, I also advocate for refugees and for my people, the Banyamulenge community. I speak because I know how it feels to be unheard. I know what it feels like when people only see your struggles, but they don't see your strength and your potential. And that is why storytelling matters. Stories remind us that refugees are more than statistics. They are our mothers, they are fathers, they are students and leaders, they are dreamers and builders. They are people with talents, hopes, and the courage to begin again. And if there is one thing that I hope you take away from my story today is that courage is not the obstacle of fear, but courage is choosing to move forward despite the fear. My journey from Congo to Kenya and eventually to the United States has taught me that while we cannot always choose our circumstances, we can choose our perspective. And sometimes that choice can change the course of our entire life. Refugees around the world make that choice every single day. And not because it's easy, but because hope is stronger than fear. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for listening to my story. Bye bye. See you next time.